Well, this weekend, the Wonderful Wedding Show will give you lots of great ideas for your big day, but how do you pay for it all? Here to help is Dan Chometa from Consolidated Credit. The first question there, how do you pay for it all, may not be the answer. We have to decide who's paying for it, because quite often mom and dad will step up.
Yeah, again, at Consolidated, we're always talking about open lines of communication. This is no different. I think it's important for us to determine, first of all, who's paying for the wedding.
Right.
If the groom and bride are going to pay, or if the parents are going to pitch in. And sometimes in certain cultures, that's the case. Some cultures think that the bride's family should pay for the wedding, and other cultures think the grooms should pay for the wedding. So we need to make sure we know who's footing
That sounds
the
like an
cost.
awkward conversation. Hey, mom, dad, or my soon-to-be mother-in-law, father-in-law, how much money is in the pot?
Well, at the same time, I think both of those sets of parents have been married before, and they've probably had that conversation before. So I would say that there's some sort of expectation that that's going to come up.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they're going to go through it, and maybe rubbing your hands together, probably not the best way to get into things.
Probably not.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how do we, when it comes to how do we decide what has to be in the wedding and what doesn't have to be in the wedding? How do we prioritize?
Well, just like anything else, we have a needs and wants assessment.
Okay.
In this case, it's the must-haves and it would be nice to have. So the chocolate fondue fountain, is it all important?
For me, yes.
For some, maybe. But for others, it's maybe not a place where you want to spend your money.
Okay.
Right?
So look at what has to be in there, the things you need as a couple, and the things you not. But for every couple, that could be very different.
Right, sure. And again, culturally, that's very different. Some cultures say that they must get married in a church, mosque, synagogue, or whatever the case may be.
Right.
And others, it's not a big deal for them, so they can go to a destination wedding or whatever the case may be.
Okay, you've gotten through 2 minutes of this without saying the word budget, and we know you love that.
Yes.
So how does my wedding budget differ from my usual budgets?
I don't think it differs, but I think putting the pen to the paper, that cognition and learning is really important. Understanding currently where you're spending your money,
right,
how much you're spending, and keeping a live inventory of what's been spent is very important to ensure that you won't run over your budget and use those credit cards.
And that brings us to setting limits. We want to make sure that we have a cap on everything we're spending for. Do we go individually, so my cap for flowers is X and my cap for venue is Y?
Yeah, but not getting too crazy. Micromanagement often makes budgeting very challenging.
Yes.
But we do want to keep mindful of all of the little things in the wedding. But we're already going to determine what that is when we have the must-haves and the nice-to-haves.
Okay, so that's where we start off. We make that list and we add those numbers too. Okay, then we want to help people save by going off-season. That can make a big difference to what my venue is going to charge me.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, you look at a wedding in March versus a wedding in the heat of July or August or even October. It's a very different costing in terms of renting a hall or even renting a facility of some kind. So if you can do your wedding off-season, some people are snow bunnies. Maybe they want to do it on a ski resort, these kinds of things. Not necessarily the norm, but
right,
something that's a little bit more fun.
And when it comes to things like guests who say don't want to travel or maybe don't feel like doing a winter wedding, the people that you want at your wedding, those nearest and dearest to you, will be there no matter what.
Well, that's just it. I think those that feel that it's most important to be there will be there, rain, shine, snow, whatever the case may be, they're going to come. They're going to attend.
There are lots of great tips specifically on saving in each individual item when you prioritize on Dan's site. We'll put it on breakfasttelevision.ca. Just a quick recap though for all the brides and grooms when you're heading out, when you're making your plans, make sure you first off have that conversation about where that money is coming from. Then you want to prioritize what you do and do not have to have in there. Don't forget, as Dan always reminds us, you're setting a budget so you know exactly what you're spending. You set those limits. So when you make that budget, you stick to what you decided to spend on. You want to think off season and save yourself a little bit of money and skip some of the traditional stuff. You might save yourself a whole lot of money when it comes to your big wedding. For your big day, you're going to need a big pile of cash, and for help, you'll find it all at breakfasttelevision.ca.